Under the blazing lights of Abu Dhabi, the arena trembled, not with chaos, but with anticipation. Tonight wasn't just another fight. It was a crossroads of greatness. In one corner, the early rounds opened with a dance of styles and strategies. Ramirez, long and powerful, began probing with his jab, testing Bivol's guard, stepping forward, trying to establish control. But Bivol, light on his feet, disciplined, sharp, didn't allow himself to be cornered. His movement wasn't just physical, it was mental warfare. He glided around Ramirez's reach, flicking that laser-like jab, touching the body and head, just enough to score, just enough to disrupt. Ramirez tried to cut off the ring, letting loose quick combinations, nothing wild, but forceful, intent-driven. Yet every time the Mexican marched forward, Bivol found a gap, a crack in timing, slipping punches and answering with pinpoint accuracy. It was the feel-out phase, but also a coded warning. Ramirez was in the presence of a craftsman, a thinker, a man who didn't just fight, he sculpted fights. By round 7, the pace was different. Ramirez wasn't broken, not yet, but he was puzzled. Every time he advanced with authority, Bivol took half a step back, waited, and countered clean, accurate, surgical. The Russian began turning up the volume, not in wildness, but efficiency. 2 shots, pivot. 3 shots, roll under. A jab, a cross, then vanish. It was footwork as poetry. He wasn't chasing a knockout. He was constructing a masterpiece of dominance. Ramirez tried to unleash his famed 6-punch combinations, but Bivol never stood still long enough to let him. Instead, Bivol fired back with stinging, timed punches that snapped Ramirez's head, making his offense look forced, slow, heavy. The Mexican warrior was still dangerous, but Bivol was making him seem human. That was perhaps the greatest achievement. He was dismantling the aura of invincibility. The championship rounds approached, and urgency found its way into Ramirez's corner. His trainers shouted for volume, pressure, risk. "You need a war," they told him. He knew it too. The scores were slipping away. To win, he had to break Bivol's rhythm. So in round 9, Ramirez dug deep. He opened aggressively, closing distance and ripping to the body with intent. He forced exchanges along the ropes, stepping inside Bivol's comfort zone. For a moment, the Russian was cornered, but only momentarily, because Bivol responded with one of his finest sequences of the fight. He rolled under a hook, slipped right, fired a ripping counter right hand, a stiff jab, then another. The crowd gasped. It wasn't a knockdown, but it was a moment of superiority so clear, so undeniable, that it felt like one. Ramirez didn't fall, but the momentum did. From that moment forward, it was Bivol's canvas, and he began painting it stroke by stroke. Round 10 was clinical domination. Bivol danced, glided, jabbed, and struck with sharp precision, now operating in full command. His punches weren't thrown with desperation or aggression, only purpose. Tap, snap, turn, jab again. Ramirez tried to surge, to rally his fighting spirit, but his shots were smothered, blocked, slipped, drowned in Bivol's tide of movement. It became less of a fight and more of a lesson. Boxing at its purest, timing, distance, reflex, IQ. The Mexican warrior fought with heart, but heart alone couldn't decipher this code. Bivol wasn't just winning, he was etching his legacy across every round. And yet, this was boxing, where hope lives until the final bell. As the 11th began, Ramirez's corner told him the truth. You need a knockout. They didn't sugarcoat it. He nodded. He understood. Fate demanded action, so he charged, body and soul, into the storm. He let his hands go, finally releasing the combinations that made him famous. Hooks to the ribs, uppercuts inside, looping shots over the top. The crowd roared with every attempt, feeling the fire of a man refusing to surrender. But Bivol was unshaken. He caught the shots on his gloves, danced away, and fired back with cold precision. A sharp jab, a slicing right, another angle, calm, controlled, unbreakable. Ramirez tried to force a war, but Bivol never gave him one. He gave him something worse. He gave him clarity. The 12th and final round wasn't just a round, it was a revelation. Ramirez emptied the tank. He marched forward, gloves high, determination blazing in his eyes. He needed one clean shot, one dream punch, but dreams don't land on disciplined minds. Bivol remained composed, patient, icy. Then, for the final minute, he did something unexpected. He stopped moving. He stood his ground. He exchanged. He threw combinations, fast, clean, elegant. He wasn't chasing the knockout. He was making a statement. The Russian didn't just prove he could win. He proved he could dominate in any style, in any arena, under any circumstances. The bell rang. The masterpiece was complete. The crowd stood, applauding, not for violence, but for brilliance, for mastery under pressure, for the poetry of precision. Both men embraced, warriors acknowledging the truth. Ramirez had given heart, but Bivol gave history. As the announcer took center ring, the lights dimmed slightly, focusing on the still, calm figure of the champion. Ladies and gentlemen, after 12 rounds of action, we go to the judges' scorecards. All three, unanimous for your winner, still undefeated, still the WBA light heavyweight champion of the world, Dmitry Bivol. The arena erupted, not just in cheers, but in respect. Legacy had spoken, and tonight it spoke in Russian.